So there is a card that was supposed to, he says there's a UFC card that's supposed to take place on June 24th. And it was for UFC. And they had actually moved it out of respect for Bellator's 180 card.
Not what I heard. Go ahead. Keep
yeah,
going.
well, that's what he said. It's the Michael Chiesa versus Kevin Lee card. And it's now, and it's going to be on Sunday, the day after the June 25th card for UFC. But I looked around. I couldn't see whether or not it was even planned for June 24th or not, but maybe you have more information.
I mean, the UFC ain't bound down to anyone, especially Bellator. If anything, they would go head-to-head with them.
Even with that card?
100%. UFC don't fuck around. The only reason UFC would switch dates is because it would make them look bad on that card. Does that make sense? Because that UFC Fight Night would be going up against their huge Madison Square Garden card, correct?
Yeah.
That Madison Square Garden card, unless they went head-to-head with UFC 211, that Madison Square Garden Bellator card is going to wreck any UFC numbers.
That's what I'm saying.
On.
So
UFC, they were like, you know what? Out of the kindness of our hearts, we don't want to do this. We'll just move to Sunday. They went, fuck. We don't want to go head-to-head with them.
That's kind
it's
of
going to fuck up our ratings.
Yeah.
Move it to Sunday. That's what's going on. Come on, Wanderlei. This Michael Chiesa versus Lee? Huh? I mean, I like both fighters. They're great. What? I'd have to see the rest of the card, but again, it's in Oklahoma City. The fuck we talking about, man? Yeah, reschedule. No shit. You rescheduled. Let's just go through this Bellator card. First of all, Michael Chandler is better than anyone fighting on the UFC card that night. He's a bigger name. You got Fedor. You got Mitrione. You got Wanderlei Silva. You got Chael Sonnen. But the best fight is even on pay-per-view. It's on free Spike. It's the main fight on the undercard on Spike, which is two of the best 205ers in any organization in the world, which would be Ryan Bader and Phil Davis, which they fought in the UFC, but still. Just keep going through the card. So you got Douglas Lima versus Lorenz Larkin. And Larkin we're going to have on the show. You got Larkin versus Lima. What? For a title. So look, you have Chandler, Primus, title. Lima, Larkin, title. Mitrione, Fedor, obviously fun fight. Chael Sonnen, Wanderlei Silva, fun fight. Then you have Aaron Pico. Do you know who Aaron Pico is?
Yeah. Standout high school wrestler, right?
Collegiate wrestler too. Youngest ever to medal, and you're talking about an absolute phenom. He was a guy the UFC would love to have, and he actually ended up signing with Bellator. So it's Aaron Pico's debut, who's also coming on the show. Then you got Phil Davis, Bader. It's just a fucking. Then you got that Gallagher feller who's huge out there in Ireland, kid, versus Chinzo Machida. If you've never seen Lyoto Machida's brothers fight, you're missing out because this motherfucker is fun. Think of Lyoto Machida lighter and quicker, and knocking dudes out the exact same, if not more kind of very strange kind of knockouts where you're like, Jesus Christ, ridiculous. That whole card, though, man, that whole card is a burner. So when they go, listen, UFC decide just take the ball and go over here because they don't want to steal anything away. Whoa. Don't get twisted. Don't shortchange Bellator like that. Bellator is pissing on that other card. Go to that fight night for me. Fight night, Oklahoma. There it is, Oklahoma City. Unless they sign Kevin Durant and he's fighting Westbrook, that bitch ain't beating anybody. What a fight that would be, huh? I'd tune into that. Well, Kevin Lee's the guy who's supposed to help Mayweather.
Yeah.
Let's just go through it real quick. Let me just scour over this. So your main event, you got Chiesa versus Kevin Lee. Fun fight. Don't get me wrong. That's a fun fight. I'm interested in that. You got Tim Boetsch versus Johnny Hendricks. It's not going to blow your hair back because Johnny Hendricks, former champ. Tim Boetsch lost his last fight. And remember, he lost to a few guys before that. But he's always tough. But he's obviously past his prime. Both guys are. You got Felice Herring, who I always love to watch fight. Then you got... Look at my face right now. You got Little Nog versus Latifi. Get that shit on my face. And you got BJ Penn versus Dennis Seaver. And you got Clay Guida on the card too. So you got some. You just got some older kind of legends, you know. You got older BJ Penn versus Dennis Seaver is old. Then Latifi versus Little Nog is just, I think Latifi knocked his face off. Clay Guida versus Eric Koch. Well, Koch has been gone for a while. It's a great card. It really is. That's a fun card. I will watch every single one of those. I'm not hating on it, but it does not stack up to obviously to the pay-per-view or even the undercard of the Bellator. It's one for the Bellator guys, one for Team Bellator in this. But again, I will watch both and be balls deep into every one of them, and that card is actually very fun after I look at it. But it doesn't compare to the Bellator. And why would it? Why would it? But you compare UFC 211 to this Bellator. What else you got?
You ever recall them ever moving a card for Bellator outside of this?
I remember canceling a card because Chael Sonnen and Tito were fighting, and Bellator and UFC was supposed to be, I think, the same night, and they didn't have a headliner, and they didn't want to look bad. And remember when they yanked the card here in LA? They yanked the card because they didn't have a headliner.
Oh, shit, yeah.
Remember that?
Yes, now I do.
They're like, shit, because you don't want to go stack. You want to be, to compare it to fighting, you want to put your best foot forward. You don't want to have an injured fighter go in there and like, what happened? Then you lose the fight. For them, they'd lose the ratings. So they're just like, yank it. Because it makes the UFC look bad.